Hey folks, it's Michael Krasilovsky here out of Team K Realty at RE/MAX in Corvallis. So it's June 2022 as we film this, and the market's been very strong for a very long time, as you know. And the challenge there is that it can be really confusing for the public because news headlines talk about what's going on maybe with an overall nationwide average, and that's not necessarily always relevant to a hyper-local market, which is what we happen to be working in. So the most important thing is not necessarily a nationwide average, but what's happening with, that house that you're in love with right there on 123 Main Street. And so my goal here is that I want to give you a very informed dipstick into the market in real time. And we haven't done this way before. So this isn't a video actually about overall stats citywide or countywide or statewide, because there are many sub-markets within a single town or single city. So we're going to dive in and get a little more granular and actually take a look at all of the homes that myself and my team have helped people buy and sell this year, including pending sales. So our data set today is 37 transactions, 37 homes bought and sold. So it's a really informed dipstick into the market. We get to help a lot of people, and we're very grateful for that. But it allows us to make sure that, when we're giving you information and giving you advice, that we're giving you very informed information. We've really got our finger on the pulse of the market, especially including the pending sales, because we're not just looking back in time here, but we're showing you what's happening in real time. And some of these sales close tomorrow. All right, so let's dive in, take a look at some news stories, take a look at some spreadsheets, and then the fun part will be briefly taking a look at the specific homes that we've helped buy and sell so that you can see those in relation to the spreadsheet and then summarize for you. Okay, so we're over here and we've got a screenshot of what comes up on Google when you search for the words real estate market. And the point that I want to make here is that there's a lot of potentially conflicting information. I mean, literally right next to each other on this screen, we've got housing crisis means home prices won't come down. Sorry, millennials. In other words, prices are still going up. And literally right next to that, the housing market is entering the most significant contraction. Prices are going down. Conflicting information literally right next to each other. And that's what the general public is faced with. And there's a lot of, I think, fear out there in the general public, which I'm empathetic to, and I want to help you cut through the fear so you're making informed decisions because real estate is local. So again, this is not a prediction video. That's not the point of this video. And if you want, let us know. We can do another prediction video, but I think you know what it's going to say. Rather, this is an informed dipstick into the market. We're looking at 37 transactions in a sample set here, a bunch of different buyers and price points, and we've got things separated out based on the community involved. And of those 37, 14 of these are pending sales literally happening right now. All right, so local market summary. So what I want to make sure you're aware of is an underlying assumption that I've got here. Because when everyone does their job correctly, there tends to be multiple offers and competition bidding up the sale price of homes here. What do I mean by everyone doing their job correctly? I mean that the realtor, the seller, the marketing team, the photographer, everyone is doing their job correctly. So the house has been polished up, it's been priced just perfectly, reasonably in the first place, marketed to the nines, marketed very well, professional pics, video, all that stuff, and that way the home seller is taking advantage of the current market conditions. That's what I mean by everyone doing their job correctly. All right, so let's look at our first of these spreadsheets. So if you're nerdy like me, we have got you covered, but if you just want to see houses, stay tuned, we're getting there too. All right, so the first spreadsheet here on the left, we've got all the sold homes in Corvallis that my team has already done this year. And these are specific homes with actual list price versus sale price and the differences. And then on the right, we've got all the pending sales that are happening. And I do have that gray box covering up the current contract prices because those are confidential. Those deals have not closed yet, but you can still see an average. So let's take a look. So the sold ones in Corvallis so far have averaged about $38,000 over asking price. It's just an average, and that's part of my point, is that averages aren't the be-all, end-all. But on average, $38,000 over asking price, on average, 6% over asking price. And if we look at the pending sales, these are the handful of deals we've got going right now. They're about 107% of the asking price. So instead of 6% over the asking price, 7% over. So not much of a difference there. And I'm not pretending to be a statistician. I'm not running stats on that, but that doesn't look like what would end up being a significant difference to me. And that's part of the point that I want to make here, is that you're looking at newspaper headlines that they say that the market has crashed, the market's crashing, it's totally changed. And that might be the case in a lot of places, but Corvallis is a slow growth college town in the Mid-Valley that's got a very multifaceted economic base, and these numbers don't look like a crashed or enormously changed market to me. This is what I'm seeing in real time. If we look at the Albany metrics too, just of the deals that we've done, in Albany we've already closed, 6 or 7 homes, and on average they're 14% over asking price. Funny thing there is that it's about $38,000 over asking price. I think that's just a coincidence. But for that same about $38,000 over asking price, in Albany the home prices start lower, so it's a bigger percentage over asking price on average for whatever that's worth. If we take a look at the 5 deals that we have in Albany going right now, this is where it starts to make the point for me. On average, it makes it look like Albany is a totally changed market, and we've got $16,000 under asking price, 3% under asking price, 97% of the sale price. And that makes it look like Albany is a very changed market than it was over the past 6 months, but that's not how I'm interpreting these stats. Because I don't mind telling you, behind the scenes, I know what's going on, of course, for every single one of these deals, and there's a huge outlier, quite frankly. I mean, one of these homes is basically a for sale by owner that, and I don't mind saying this because it is public record, you can see price changes over time, that was basically priced almost $100,000 over where it should have been before it finally sold to one of our buyers, which is in the process of selling to. And that's totally skewing these stats. If we remove that, Albany homes are still usually getting bid up over the asking price. We've got a handful of other homes too, other areas. So we've got, 4 there, Robbins, 5th, Airport High Street. Those are Lebanon, and Monmouth, if I recall correctly. And that shows on average about 5% over the asking price. And in the other locations category, we've only got 1, so I'm not going to show you averages there. But these are the real-time numbers that we're looking at. All the ones that are sold have sold since basically January 1st, and all the ones that are pending are under contract about to close. Let's dive in. Oh, and take a look at the overall averages. Again, kind of making the point there. The overall average, if you look at all these, is about 8% over the asking price for the sold ones, and the overall average for the pending, currently under contract ones is about 3% over the asking price. But again, very skewed by just a few of those deals in Albany. And some of you are probably noticing that on the sold side of things, there's a huge range here. I mean, one of these sold for $24,000 under asking price. One of them sold for $140,000 over asking price. And on the pending side of things, same kind of thing. I mean, we've got at least one of these that's $20K under asking price, and one of these that's over 6 figures over the asking price. So averages aren't super useful when you're trying to decide what to do with that house for sale right there. You really need to be leaning on a real estate professional who's local and a trusted advisor for you. And that's another one of the points here. All right, let's look at those Corvallis sold homes. If you're not spreadsheet nerdy and you just want to see homes, here's a quick run through of them. All right, so let's start off first home here. So this is up on Highland. It's a house on a few acres. It was listed in November of 2021, but it sold right around New Year's. Listed for $625, sold for just $5,000 over the asking price, about 1% over the asking price. I'm just going to quickly run through these for you since there's a lot of them. Lovely home, Southwest Corvallis, Cherry Avenue, listed for $399K, sold just after New Year's for $36,000 over the asking price, 9% over asking price to one of our buyers. That's what it took to get this home. Northwest Corvallis, this is on Woodland in Witham Hill. Fantastic neighborhood, so even though this home needed a little bit of updating, it was listed at the end of 2021 for $45,000 and sold for $45,000 over the asking price, about 9% over list price. Northwest Corvallis, pretty centrally located on Grant, right by the First Alternative Foods Co-op, listed for $475K, sold in January actually to me. I bought this as a rental property. It was an offer I wrote sight unseen, and it went for only $5,000 over the asking price, 1% over the list price. And, some of the behind-the-scenes information here that you should know is that this was a sight unseen offer on a house with no pictures. It didn't get bid up $50,000. It only took a little bit to get this house because no one was buying it. So again, if everyone does their job right, you get some pretty different results. If homes are really marketed to the nines, things happen differently than if there's just a for sale sign in the yard. All right, this home, Southwest Corvallis, brand new construction, listed for $556K, sold in February for list price plus upgrades. This is another reason why it's super important to lean on a local trusted advisor, a local real estate professional, because you need to interpret the stats you're looking at. This home did not get bid up, and a lot of new construction makes it look like it gets bid up. This sold for list price, then there were upgrades done, and then it simply closed. But wait, there's more, because one of these did get bid up. We'll talk about that. All right, Northwest Corvallis, Tamarack, kind of a single-story condo, sold for $10,000 under list price, under original list price. So this was on the market for $450K originally, and it sold for $440K, 98% of the list value. Northeast Corvallis, listed for $450K. Super excited about this one. We're super excited for all these people. This was a house that was listed for $450K that only went $10,000 over the asking price, only 2% over, and just speculating why, it was barely marketed. There weren't even pictures of the inside of the house on this one. So our buyer got it for, just a little bit over the asking price. There weren't 10 offers on it, just a couple. Northwest Corvallis, gorgeous home on 5 acres up in the Northwest Hills with solar and very updated, listed for $949K, and our folks got it for $51K over, 5% over the list price on this particular home. Southwest Corvallis, Grand Oaks, phenomenal neighborhood, gorgeous home. We sold this one recently for some folks. It was listed in April for $630K. And it sold for $52,000 over the list price, 8% over list. Northwest Corvallis, again, recent one here. Woodland Drive up in the Woodland Park, Witham Hill area. Listed for $450K. Great little single-story house in an awesome neighborhood with some tasteful updates already done. Listed for $450K, sold for $80,000 over the asking price, 18% over list price. Very fierce competition on this one to get it. Same thing here. This is further down the street on Woodland. We just gave keys pretty recently to this family. This was a home on a large lot. I think it was a third of an acre. Very nicely updated home with incredible landscaping, both front and back. A lot of value in that landscaping. This was listed for $750K, and it sold for $139,000 over the list price, 19% over list. And that's what it took to get this home. This is one of the upper echelons of going over list price. But at the same time, maybe they should have priced it higher in the first place. It's hard to say based on what just happened. But that's what it took for it to sell, or to buy. Northwest Corvallis, small home. We just sold this one recently. 460 square feet, walkable to downtown and campus. And it sold actually for $24,000 under the list price, 8% under list price, under original list price. And then this, I think, is one of our last actually sold in Corvallis. This is on 30th Street, and it just sold. It was listed for $525K, but it's walking distance to First Alternative Foods Co-op, the Montessori School, and coffee shops right over there on Grant Avenue. And it was listed for $525 and sold for $110,000 over, 21% over list price. And that's what it took to get this one. All right, so here's that table again, just zoomed in for the sold Corvallis homes. We just went through these, I think, in order. And again, you can see on average, it was $38,000 over the asking price, 6% over. But it's hard to use an average to predict a specific home's sale price, because some of these go, hot potato status versus atomic potato status, 6 figures over. It all comes down to what's going to happen on that house, not just using an average to plug into your offer and say, this much over asking price. Got to lean on a local trusted professional. Let's take a quick look at Albany. If you're still around, I really appreciate you checking these out. The Albany solds we have here. Oh, this was so cool. I love this house. I want to give all these families shout outs, but confidentiality. So this sold in in February. It was listed for $380K. You can see older, super charming house, a lot of character, wood, trim, great. Love this place. And this sold for $35,000 over the asking price, 9% over asking price in Southwest Albany. Southeast Albany, this was a flipped home that was listed for $389K. They did a great job flipping this home. I don't usually get to say that. And we sold this to one of our investor clients for $29,000 over the list price, which was 7% over list price. Great place. It's going to be an incredible rental property for them. We sold this to an investor client as well, Southeast Albany in the Lexington Park area. So right like 1 block away as the crow flies. So I don't know the verbiage for that. Right near Lexington Park. Great home built in the 90s. Good bones. Listed for $390K. And it took $35,000 over the asking price, 9% over list, to get this for one of our investor clients as well. It'll be a great place for them. Southeast Albany, super charming, older, actually historic house. This is more recently, listed for $500K, and one of our buyers got this for $25,000 over the asking price, which is 5% over asking price. Big high five, by the way. I could say that on a bunch of these to our new team member, Noelle, buyer's specialist on Team K Realty, for helping this family get keys to this lovely home. She's been instrumental these past few months. And then North Albany, so Benton County, North Albany. This was a listing of ours that was listed for $585K. Fantastic single-story, fairly new construction with a huge 3-car garage, all updated, listed for $585K, went $65,000 over the asking price, and sold for 11% over list price. I think that's the last, almost the last Albany sold. And then in Southeast Albany, we got this little lot for sale that was an actually buildable lot, and that's hard to come by. Oftentimes there's bare land for sale, and you can't easily build on it. This was buildable. We listed this for $99,000, and it went for 44% over the asking price, which really surprised all of us. 44K over, 44% over list price on this spare lot. So then if we zoom in here on the Albany sold table, again, you can see here's those houses, $38,000 on average over asking price, 14% on average over asking price for the ones that have already sold. And then the other locations like Lebanon and Monmouth, we've got some bare land in Lebanon that was listed for $180K that we helped someone buy for exactly what it was listed for. Very good. And then we've got a nicely updated 90s manufactured home on a bunch of land. This was on acreage in Lebanon that was listed low, listed for $395K and sold for 19% over the asking price. It sold for $75,000 over the asking price in March, and this is a great place. You need to call them and see how they're doing. And then up in Monmouth, we helped some buyers get this place. Great starter home, a single-story home with a great yard, really quiet neighborhood, $390K list price, and we helped them get keys for only $5,000 over the asking price, just 1% over list price on this one. So again, one more. And then this home in Lebanon, really excited for these guys too. Great place, 2-story, vaulted ceilings, and great outdoor living setup, backing up to a canal. And this was listed for $440K, and it sold very recently for just $1,000 under, which was basically the list price if this rounds up. So on average, almost $20,000 over the asking price just for that smaller sample set there, 5% over the asking price. Strong market in these other areas that are still nearby. How about the sale pendings? These are deals that we have currently got under contract. These are listings of ours that are in the process of being sold. They've already accepted an offer, or they're buyers of ours that already have an offer accepted, and we're just we're working towards closing, getting through contingencies. So let's take a look at the Corvallis pending sales first. And we start off with Hillcrest, listed for $721K. You can see gorgeous home. This is a great Northwest Corvallis neighborhood. Some incredible hardscaping, swimming pool, everything. And I can't tell you anything about the price here, but it was competitive. Let's say that. Southwest Corvallis in the Barley Hill neighborhood. Got a lot of clients in this neighborhood. I love this place. This home was listed for $475K. It's pending for one of our buyers. They're going to get keys on this in another week and a half, and it was a little bit competitive on this one too. We got some new construction in Southwest Corvallis. This is Legend Homes Russell Gardens, listed for $599K. We have a sale pending, and it was a pretty typical new construction purchase. And pretty typical means that we don't have a bidding war on new construction. But then this one, we have a home that's new construction in Southwest Corvallis in Ridgecrest that actually was the first time ever, listed for $594, first time ever that we had multiple offers on new construction, and the price actually ended up being part of a bidding war. So that's happening in the middle of news headlines saying that the market's crashing. We've never had this happen before. And that's why, again, it all comes down to what's happening locally. Real estate is hyper-local. Lean on your local trusted advisor for advice. Northwest Corvallis up on Heather. We have this really cool Pacific Northwest A-frame. It was very competitive on this one, and it closes in another, I think, couple of days. It's almost there. Listed for $675K and very competitive. And then Northwest Corvallis, this is a listing of ours up at the top of Timber Hill, up on Honeysuckle. This is a gorgeous home. It is really outstanding. It's got incredible landscaping too. Listed for $1.1 million, and it received multiple offers of some pretty competitive over there as well. And then this Northwest Corvallis home, this is actually just a few blocks north of Harrison Boulevard, which is just a few blocks north of campus. So this is maybe 6 blocks to campus. Classic rental home in that regard. It's a 6-bedroom rental home in decent shape with 2 bathrooms and a fenced-in yard, listed for $560K. And it was not really competitive on this one. I'm really happy for my buyers to be getting keys and to see this number go public. This home is in Northwest Corvallis. This is listed for $475K. Nice single-story house with some really cool charm to it. It includes the little red gingerbread cottage next to it, which is a great art studio, home office, recording studio, and some just wonderful gardens, as you can see fenced in the front there. And this was very competitive. I believe this closes tomorrow off the top of my head. So very competitive on this one. And so if we look at the right side of the screen, here are those pending sales. I can't show you the specific prices they're going for because they're not done yet and therefore not public yet. But if you look at the average, it's $53,000 over the asking price, 7% over asking price. All of these pending sales have been put together. These deals have all been put together while the news, headlines are basically saying, run for the hills, the market's crashing. It doesn't feel that way here if I look at these numbers. Granted, this is just the deals we're working on, but here are the numbers. Let's look at the Albany pending. We don't have as many there, and this is really interesting. The Albany pending, we've got North Albany listing, great place with some incredible hardscaping. Love the floor plan, excellent fixtures and finishings. Listed for $675K on Northwest Broadway, and this was competitive. There were multiple offers on this one. We've got another North Albany home up on Summer Hill, and this was listed at an initial price, if I recall correctly, if I wrote these down correctly, of $630K. And I can say this much because this much is public. There have been lots of price reductions on this one over time. It was just listed too high, and the market said, hey, we're not buying it, until one of our buyers finally came along after they've adjusted the price to get more realistic. And this is in those stats. This is selling for a lot less than the original list price, which really skews the stats on this table. And so my own stats make the point for me of, hey, you've got to take everything into account, not just look at an overall average. In Albany, in North Albany, we've also got 1, 2, 3 new construction deals, all under contract, from the high 400s to the high 500s in Pheasant Run, North Albany by Hayden Homes. And these are all pretty typical new construction deals in that we bought them, simple as that. We didn't have to do bidding wars on these, and that's usually not what happens here. So if we look on the right side of this table, here's those 5, that handful of Albany deals we've got going. And on average, it makes it look like the market is completely shifted, $16,000 under asking price on average for these Albany deals. But again, one of those is completely an outlier. It's not too common that we see a home have to have almost $100,000 worth of price reductions before someone buys it. So that is very much affecting those stats. And if you remove that outlier, what you have left over is that when everyone does their job right, there's competition because that's the feel of the market here. In the other areas that we have pending sales, we just have this one, bare land, 5 acres in Lebanon, and this was an expired listing that we gave CPR to, and our buyer is basically buying this, and it closes, I think, tomorrow, and it was not competitive. It wasn't even like a live listing, really, so it's not like this got bid up $100,000, just pretty much going to be what you're looking at there. So I'm not going to crunch numbers on the average of that one pending because that would give away the asking price, but nothing too out of the ordinary happening there. All right, so again, back to that overall table, Corvallis is still very competitive, and that's the point here, is that we've got overall averages that don't necessarily inform a consumer well when real estate is hyperlocal. Corvallis, still super competitive. All the sold ones that we've done this year, all the sold homes have been substantially over asking price, and they continue to be that way. The Albany stats Albany's been pretty competitive too, and the Albany stats in this particular PowerPoint slide are a bit misleading because one of these was basically a for sale by owner that just shot for the moon and couldn't sell it for that price. And then the other areas, still show some pretty good competition there. So again, the point here is that the overall stats really can be very misleading and misunderstood, and even some of our pending sales make it look like homes aren't getting bid up that much, but the average is just that. It's an average. So it's really important to take into account the big picture and lean on your local trusted advisor. The overalls, I'm not really too in love with here, again, because it's just too much of an overall generalization, and I don't think it gives you a very good idea as to what to do, how to bid on a house you're in love with that's right over there, for example. So again, one of the news headlines that we've been seeing a lot of is home sales decline, home sales are down, all this stuff. And if you Google home sales decline, you get some US news stats there. Sale of new homes tumbled 16% in April. Okay, great. But let's really dive in to what this means, right? When home sales are declining, that doesn't mean that prices are necessarily declining too. It means there isn't as much for sale, which is usually why prices go up. There's a housing shortage here, and that isn't going to change overnight, as my business coach Lisa likes to say. There's no instant, new construction of an extra few hundred homes in every, corner of town going up overnight. It's just not going to change. And that is even more exacerbated, it's even more evident in a slow growth community like Corvallis, where there's barely any new construction in the first place. So at the end of the day, again, real estate isn't just local, it's hyper-local. It doesn't matter what's happening on a nationwide average or even a citywide average. Really what matters is how many people are in love with that home right there that you happen to be in love with too, and what's about to happen to that particular home sale. So the point I want to re-emphasize here is to lean on your local peak-producing real estate professional as your trusted advisor when it comes to making what's probably one of the larger financial decisions in your life. I don't want you, as a member of the public, trying to navigate your local housing market just based on nationwide news. There are submarkets within individual cities or towns. People will pay more or less for homes in different neighborhoods, in certain school zones, etc. And there's so many factors that influence really how competitive a home will be on the market. So lean on your trusted advisor as you work towards navigating your local market and your home purchase that you're about to make, or your home sale that you're about to make. There are realtors everywhere who, like our team, really bring a teacher's heart to this profession as opposed to just viewing it as commission sales. There's a lot of realtors who are fantastic, and they're not just trying to sell you on stuff. They really want to serve you well, and that's who you should be using. So the best way to make sure that you're using someone like that in your local market is to ask around. Get a referral, get a word-of-mouth recommendation from other people that you trust personally who have bought or sold recently, not like 10 years ago with someone they say is good, but recently. And notice that I didn't say, ask the realtor that lives down the street from you, because I hear that a lot from my clients too, that are moving from out of state, and they're like, well, there's a realtor who lives down the street, and they said X, Y, Z. The realtor who lives down the street may or may not be a peak-producing, highly skilled agent who's in touch with the local market. Make sure that you're finding someone who's highly skilled, highly trained, very experienced, and very active in the market right now, not just someone who happens to be convenient. There's a difference there, or there might be a difference there. Because if you're talking to someone who is just like, a cashier at a grocery store that happens to also be a part-time realtor, and I'm making that scenario up, I'm not trying to throw shade, that might be a person who's just as susceptible to news headlines as the average consumer. They might not really have their finger on the pulse of the market. Get a word-of-mouth referral to a peak producer who's going to serve you well, and serve you with excellence so that you're not making a major life decision and just falling susceptible to what's probably just clickbait headlines. So, all right, that's my 2 cents. I hope that's helpful for you. If you've stuck around this long, I really appreciate your viewership. So if you want a market prediction, let us know. This is intended to be a dipstick into right now. And thanks so much. So, hey, like and subscribe and do all that normal YouTube stuff. Thanks, and bye for now.